Welcome to Film Photography 101 and happy Film Photography Day, everybody. Today's meetup presentation is brought to you by theredbuildinggroup.com. Building websites and apps since 2008. I'm Jeff Price, the president, and your featured speaker. Now, we're going to talk film this hour, and then afterwards, we're going to go shoot some film, and I have some film. As a giveaway, I have some assignments to give as well for a photo walk, so it should be a cool time. What is film? It is a thin, flexible strip of plastic coated with light-sensitive emulsion. Once light hits that film, it changes the chemicals a little bit, and it embeds an invisible image in the film. If you were to look at the film at that instant, you won't see anything. The image is invisible. It's inside the film. And by magic, it actually develops into a real image. Film is magic, and digital is science. That's the big difference. In all seriousness, it's a series of chemical baths that actually bring that image out of the film and renders that film insensitive to more light so that you can scan it, store it, what have you. So why shoot film? Film gives you a better look. It gives you a more organic look. It's imperfect, it's beautiful, and if you want a certain look out of your film camera, all you have to do is shoot a different roll of film. The camera that you have that's digital, it's going to shoot the same style of photos with the same characteristics shot after shot. And sure, if you swapped out a lens, you could get a different perspective, say wide angle or telephoto, but the images themselves will actually look the same, and that's because that's how that digital camera was designed. So with film, if you want a different look, all you have to do is shoot a different roll of film. There's also a higher keep rate, because shooting film forces you to slow down, to think about each shot. You only have 24 or 36, maybe just 12 shots per roll, and so each image costs a little bit of money to produce, and you're thinking about that in the back of your mind. You're more attuned to the value of the image, and so if the shot is worth taking, then you take it. You make them count. Number three, I think it's more fun to shoot film, and that's because the waiting period that you have by the time that you shoot the image and then you get those images back from the lab or in the mail if you send out your film to be processed, that waiting period builds anticipation. And so when you receive the photo package again, it's like receiving lots of little presents. Each shot has a mystery and magic all its own, revealed when you're able to finally view those images. Costs are actually comparable. The myth is that film is super expensive to shoot and digital is cheaper. And I want to take you through a quick example to show you that it's just as comparable to shoot film as it is digital. So if we look at this chart here, you'll see a 30-year-old camera, Canon A1. 50 millimeter 1.4 FD lens, good general purpose lens. It's the same perspective as our human eye sees. A scanner that's relatively consumer grade. 50 rolls of Kodak Portra, an all-around good film to use, especially for shots of family and general purpose photography. 50 rolls because you're shooting one roll per week. Now, unless you're shooting a lot, you're probably not shooting that much, but for the sake of this example, we're going to pretend that you shoot one roll per week, basically give you 2 weeks off in that year. $7 a roll to process. It's $6 and change at your local drugstore here in Jacksonville. And so $7 a little bit more of a conservative estimate. On the digital side, we have Canon 70D, very nice digital camera, shoots video as well, so that's one advantage, obviously. But the sensor on the 70D is not even the size of a 35 millimeter frame. So you can shoot very good images, but in terms of just resolution, it's not the same. And with the modern lens, you see that, a couple of memory cards thrown in, it costs about $500 more digital the first year. Now let's say you don't buy anything else for your digital camera lifestyle there in second year, so it's $0 for year two. On film, of course, you got to buy the film and the processing.
But that's if you're doing 2 rolls in a roll a week.
That's if you're doing a roll a week, exactly. So year three, now what happens a lot with digital photography is that the companies that make the cameras have kind of gotten us addicted to buying new equipment every few years because those cameras do only produce that same type of image. So year three comes out, you're reading about all these amazing cameras that have just come out. It's got all these great features, it shoots in the dark, right? And but by the way, now it's $100 cheaper because electronics have become, more cost effective, right? So you buy another camera, but it comes with a new format. Now it takes micro SD cards, not SD cards, so you got to buy a couple more cards. With film, you still have to obviously pay for the film and the processing. So just to recap, what do we have? Very comparable. After 3 years, film is $37 less. Now, clearly you can manipulate the numbers by what you buy and how much you shoot, but costs are comparable, and that's really the point with this series of slides. So why shoot film? Last reason, it's better for archiving. Your mechanical film camera will likely continue to work 20 years from now, might need a repair every now and then, but the quality of the images on film will only improve as scanning technology improves through the years. A scanner that came out 10 years ago, not as good as one that came out today. And likewise, 10 years from now, will be even different. So your film images on negatives, if you scan them again, are actually going to be better in quality in the future with better scanning technology. Sure.
So when you do like an actual film shot, does that have a lot better resolution to build them up than say digital?
A 35 millimeter negative, a good scan can be 50 to 80 megabytes in size. Now, if you think about that, digital camera, let's say a lot of professionals use it, an Nikon D800. Okay, retails on Amazon for $2,800, body only, and it shoots 36 megapixels, but that's 36 megabytes. So that's a $2,800 camera, 36 megabytes. One film negative can be scanned 50 to 80. So you have more information to work with. And for archiving, it's better because it lasts longer as well.
So film is the true shooting in the raw.
Yes, you're exactly right. It's the true shooting in the raw, no doubt about it. Now, if we look at actually what some folks in Hollywood are saying, because many TV shows, high-end production shows, and big movies many are still shot on film. It's a good mix these days, probably more digital than film, but still plenty are shot on film. It's a problem for the digital archivists because video formats change every couple of years, so they have to transfer those files to another computer, to another computer, to another computer, and that costs a lot more. In fact, a recent study, The Digital Dilemma, argues it's 11 times more expensive to preserve a 4K digital master than a movie shot on film. So in your own lives, think about how many computers and devices you've used over the past 10 years. Are you still running the same software to manage your images? Are you still using the same devices? With computers going mobile, things becoming smaller, I mean, how are we going to manage photos in the future? How are you going to manage your digital photos that you shot 2 years ago in 2020, 2025? Purely in terms of image quality, one big-time director, Christopher Nolan, director of The Dark Knight, etc., says for the best image, it is still film. So if he says it, I believe it. It's clearly reasonable. Continue to shoot film here in 2014. So let's take a look at the various sizes and formats of film that are in use today. And we're going to start by looking at a small format and kind of moving our way up. So we have 110 film. It's a cartridge-based format. And if you looked at your parents' or your grandparents' cameras, there's rectangulars.
That was my first camera too.
Just pop it in. And that's precisely why it was invented. So it would make it easy to actually load the film and unload it, and then take it off to the processor. And the negative here is about half that size of 35 millimeter. Some 110 films are still being made today. It's kind of making a small comeback. And obviously everybody's familiar with 35 millimeter film. The width is 34.98 millimeters, so that's where the name comes from. And this standard film format was introduced in 1892. So kind of an old format, but you know what? Like we said, still very relevant today. So we talked about the comparison with some other high-end cameras. Now we have medium format film. It's a roll film. This was introduced in 1901. It's a roll film, meaning it's wound around the plastic spool. Each roll has a paper back that protects the film, and it's about 60 millimeters wide. Now, there's 220, which is just twice as long a strip as 120, so you get more images on that roll. And this format was pretty popular with wedding shooters who needed that quality and could shoot a little bit more while at a wedding. Imagine lugging this guy around. Large format film, some common sizes, 4x5 and 8x10. Definitely listen to the filmphotographyproject.com. They have a podcast, the filmphotographypodcast.com, for all sorts of information about film. And as well, they have a couple of shooters that shoot large format with these cameras. So real educational. Great tool for landscapes and fine art when you need that incredibly sharp fine detail. And when we say 4x5, that's 4 inches by 5 inches. That's how big the actual film is, 8x10 likewise. And then, of course, we have instant film, alive and well here in 2014. Fujifilm continues to produce instant film in several sizes. They offer pack film, where you pull each photo out on a paper tab, and the image develops inside a packed sandwich outside the camera, and then you peel it apart to reveal the print. Fuji also makes the Instax brand, and you might have seen a little bit of shooting over there. And speaking of Polaroid, the Impossible Project, one of my favorite film manufacturers today, a group of entrepreneur enthusiasts, they bought an old Polaroid factory and equipment in Holland and reverse engineered the instant film that's used in old Polaroid cameras. And so they continue to produce those films today. Lastly, there's actually a new group, it's a Kickstarter campaign called New 55 to develop a 4x5 instant large format film. And so that's under development right now. Just Google New 55 and look up that project.
I'm going to support that. That is crazy.
Now we have film types. We can classify films not just by the format, but also whether it's black and white, whether it's a negative, which is kind of the reverse of an image, or whether it's a positive or a slide film. A slide, of course, will look precisely as it looks when you shot it. The color negative is the reverse of the image. So in software, when scanning, you'll have to just reverse that to actually get the proper coloring. How many films are still being produced? Any guesses out there?
I know the names of 4 or 5.
4 or 5? Any other guesses? More than 100. So let's take a look at a few. We're going to look at images here that were shot with the film listed at the bottom of the screen. And the photo credits there, right there on the image in the slide, and then a link to the photo will be in the presentation notes once this is loaded up on the redbuildinggroup.com. ADOX is a German company, and its brand is one of the oldest in photography, having established its trademark in 1860. It's been around for a while. And the company behind the trademark has been sold several times since then, but ADOX still produces black and white film and one color stock. So let's take a look at that color stock. You have to shoot this film, if for no other reason, then it has the best name, Color Implosion. Here we have ADOX Silvermax, shot in Cambodia there. Moving along, we have Agfa Photo. Now, Agfa Photo Vista brand films are sold by Lupus Imaging and Media. It's a German company. And the company behind this brand has been through a few sales and mergers as well over the years, but they're still actively producing Agfa film. Now, on many of these slides, what you'll see is the number, like 400, for this Agfa APX 400. And that refers to the speed of the film or the ISO rating. And the higher the number, the better that film is for low light. But also, the higher the number, the more grain you have in your images. So, lower number, better for outdoors, generally speaking.
You can tell this is German because it's black and white. Listen to the place of existential. Yeah, German film, the camera being like, not moody enough.
Now, here we have Agfa Precisa, if that's how you say that. And I do see some of you nodding off back there, so we do have sugar in the back of the room. See the person yawning up on the slide here. Now, this is a color slide film. Out of the entire list of films in active production today, there aren't that many color slide films left, so definitely pick this up, continue to support it. And we have Agfa Vista 200. And we're now going to move into a new company called FOMA. FOMA happens to be the friendliest film manufacturer, if you go by the opening statement on their website. Allow me to read their first sentence. Let us welcome you with pleasure on the homepage of the company FOMA Bohemia, the traditional producer of black and white photo materials since 1921. Traditional since 1921, even though others have been around longer, but nevertheless, I give him props for being so friendly. Here we have FOMAPAN 200. FOMA is a company in the Czech Republic. And this is FOMAPAN 400, and in addition to being a friendly film manufacturer, it's clear from this image that really photographers shooting FOMAPAN are among the most prepared in society. We're not going to drive into Fuji territory. Obviously, Fujifilm, huge manufacturer, total company revenue, $19 billion a year, and 3% of their sales are from film. So now, that may not seem like a lot, but $570 million is a lot.
I'll take 3%. I'll take 1%.
Here we have Fuji Pro 160NS. They like to mix up their numbers and their letters, and that's just the name of the film. And this is a medium format and large format color negative film, and this is a landscape shot in France. Now here we have Fuji Pro 400H, known for its great skin tones. You can see people look great on this film. And Provia 100F, it's one of Fuji's 3 color slide films. You can see the great use for landscapes here on the Provia as well as the Velvia 50. And Easter's around the corner, so we have a cameo by the Easter Bunny. Shooting film like a boss. It's Fuji Superior 400. We're going to move into more black and white films. A lot of black and white films under production today. This is a film by Ilford. It's another brand with a long history. The company was founded in 1879, and soon after, it took the name of the town where it's located, Ilford, which is northeast of London. Now, with such history, the company's changed hands a few times. We've seen that story before, but they still produce high-quality monochrome film products. And this particular image, Delta 100, is known for its sharpness and less grain. Ilford FP4, that's what we're looking at here. It's suitable for most photographic subjects, even hipsters. And we have HP5, 400 ISO rated film. And here we have Ilford Pan F+. It's rated at ISO 50, which is pretty low, so it's often used for landscapes. It's the slowest of the Ilford films, landscapes and still lifes, if you really want to reduce that grain level. Here we have Ilford XP2, it's another 400 film, and it's got a lot of latitude. In fact, there was a great camera shootout of 2010 produced by Zacuto Films, and they really explored this subject in depth. What is the film latitude of motion picture film versus that of the Canon 5D Mark II at the time and other digital cameras? And you can see it was digital stopped at 11, film got you to about 14. So in a high contrast image where you have the sky, you have dark parts of the building, you can actually see this row of windows here and even here. There's even some detail below that, even though the sky is pure white. Just another advantage of film. Now we're going to move over to Kodak. But technically, you know, Kodak is now Kodak Alaris. That's the name of the company. It's owned by UK-based Kodak Pension Plan. And despite cutting back over the last 2 decades, Kodak still is committed to producing film. Here we have Kodak Tri-X, another of their black and white films. And this image is called Elena. And this image is called Jenny. And it's on Kodak T-Max. Now, in my mind, I kind of think Jenny's back making the dish for Elena. Fun times with Kodak. Here we have Kodak Ektar 100, good old USA. Now, Ektar is a contrasty and saturated film. And we have Kodak Portra 400. Nice accurate coloring, particularly of shots of people. And moving on to the Impossible Project. They have a black and white film for 600 series cameras. Now, those are like the whale or the frog, those cameras that you picked up, those plastic cameras that shot Polaroid film back in the 1990s. And here we have Spectra color film to be used with Spectra cameras. Color film for SX70. You might recognize a few people here in the crowd in our meetup group. And this is Kentmere 100. There's a couple of flavors. There's Mr. Cool 100 and Kentmere 400. This happens to be, I believe, a photo composition. That guy wasn't really there when they shot it. It's a couple of different shots combined after the fact. Now, we're moving into Chinese films. Chinese films are mysterious because they don't tell you that much on their website. Some people on the internet say that this company, Lucky, has produced film and continues to produce film in some ways for lomography. It's kind of an analog photographic movement at lomography.com. You can learn all about them. But Lucky 200 is indeed a brand of film that they sell. Speaking of lomography, this is a screenshot of their website. Lomography films, even though they're rebranded in many, if not all instances, they're still wonderful films to shoot. I just got an email today about a new line of films that they're selling on their website. So go check it out. And I think Revlog was the name of that new line. So they have purple chrome films that you see here on the screenshot. They have some really wild films to get some really cool effects, just to once again change that look of the camera that you're shooting with. And there's a couple of other films that are made by other companies and then branded as Rollei or Arista. Rollei and Arista, you might see those types of films on sale as well. But while other companies are manufacturing it, these are the brands that are on the street. Now, where do you process film? At the Teflon table? No. Here in Northeast Florida, you can go to Phototechnica. They will process your color prints as well as black and white. They just started recently sending off their slide films. They used to do that in-house, now they're sending it out. Walgreens, my personal favorite for a quick 1 hour processing of the negs, and it's relatively inexpensive. A couple of online options include thedarkroom.com. They can process anything. And then also Dwayne's Photo. It's been around for decades and another great option online. Now, how do you digitize those images? You can just ask the lab that processed the film. They can scan it for you. You don't have that much control of those. So if you're looking to just get a quick few images, maybe for Facebook or something like that, that's certainly an option. If you want more control, if you want to be able to play with the images in Photoshop afterward, it's nice to be able to scan them yourself. I mentioned an Epson V600 earlier in the presentation. I have an earlier model. Still does great work. I hope that you gained some film knowledge. Consider shooting some more film.